Everyone wants to be right. It feels safe. It feels strong. It feels like truth. But beneath that desire lies one of the deepest traps of the human mind. The ego's obsession with being correct. It's not about understanding. It's about control. And when ego takes over truth, wisdom disappears. We've all felt it. That surge of heat when someone challenges your opinion. You stop listening and start defending. You start stacking evidence not to learn, but to win. In that moment, you don't care about truth. You care about victory. And that's the ego in action, the part of you that equates being wrong with being weak. The ego hates uncertainty. It craves the illusion of mastery, that feeling of I know, because to the ego, doubt feels like death. So it builds armor made of opinions and hides behind it. But the stronger the armor, the less truth can get in. That's why intelligent people often argue the most. Not because they're always right, but because they've built their identity around understanding. And anything that shakes that foundation feels like an attack. So they fight harder, louder, sharper. But in trying to protect knowledge, they end up blocking wisdom. Wisdom doesn't fight for victory. It listens for understanding. It's not afraid to say, maybe I'm wrong, because wisdom isn't tied to identity. It's tied to awareness. Ego, on the other hand, is addicted to certainty. It feeds on agreement. It thrives on the feeling of superiority. Every argument it wins becomes another brick in the wall that separates it from growth. And the higher that wall grows, the harder it becomes to see beyond it. The danger isn't just personal. It's cultural. We live in a world built on echo chambers. People don't seek truth. They seek validation. They surround themselves with opinions that sound like theirs and call it knowledge. But what it really is comfort. And comfort is the enemy of evolution. You can't learn if you can't be wrong. You can't grow if you can't admit you don't know. Every great discovery, every shift in consciousness began with humility, the willingness to unlearn. But the ego resists that. It confuses surrender with defeat. It would rather cling to illusion than risk the pain of correction. The tragedy is that being right feels good, but it rarely is good. It feeds pride, not progress. Because truth doesn't need you to defend it. It just needs you to see it clearly. And you can't see clearly when you're busy proving a point. The wise understand this. The goal of conversation is not to win, but to expand awareness. Every perspective, even the one that challenges yours, is a mirror showing you what you haven't seen yet. When you drop the need to be right, you start learning again. But letting go of that need is hard because it feels like letting go of control. The ego believes that if it admits it's wrong, it loses power. But in truth, it gains freedom. Because the moment you stop defending your beliefs, you start discovering yourself. The irony of ego is that it mistakes stubbornness for strength. It builds confidence out of resistance, not wisdom. But real strength is flexible. It can bend without breaking. It can say, I was wrong, and still stand tall. Because being wrong doesn't destroy you. It refines you. You can always tell when someone's ego is speaking. Their voice gets louder. Their mind gets smaller. They stop seeking truth and start seeking applause. They don't listen to understand. They listen to reply. And when the ego runs the conversation, connection dies. The need to be right is the death of curiosity. And curiosity is the birth of growth. That's the paradox. The more you cling to your truth, the less truth you actually see. Because real truth doesn't belong to anyone. It exists beyond opinion. It's not yours or mine. It's what remains when both dissolve. The wisest people don't argue to prove. They question to learn. They understand that truth reveals itself in layers. And sometimes the layer you see isn't wrong. It's just incomplete. That humility opens the mind, softens the ego, and creates space for evolution. The next time you feel the urge to prove you're right, pause. Ask yourself, is this about truth or identity? Am I defending insight or insecurity? Because most of the time, arguments are just fear wearing logic as armor. Fear of losing control. Fear of being seen as small, but you don't need to be right to have value. you need to be real. Ego thrives in noise. Wisdom grows in silence. You can't hear new ideas when your own voice never stops talking. So sometimes the most intelligent thing you can do is to stop explaining and start observing. To let the other person finish, to hold your thoughts. Choose peace over performance. You'll notice something strange when you stop needing to be right. Life gets quieter. The chaos of argument fades. You begin to realize that most debates were never about truth, just ego wrestling with ego. In the moment you stop playing, you start seeing clearly again. Wisdom doesn't need to win. It only needs to understand. And when understanding becomes your goal, arguments turn into conversations. Enemies turn into teachers, and every disagreement becomes an opportunity to grow. The ego behind being right is strong, but awareness is stronger. Because once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. You start catching yourself mid-argument, realizing, I'm not defending truth. I'm defending my image. That moment is the beginning of freedom. Because ego can't survive self-awareness. In the end, being right is temporary. Understanding is eternal. And the more you choose awareness over ego, the less you'll need to prove anything. You'll find peace, not in victory, but in vision, and that peace, quiet, unshakable, and free, is what true intelligence was always meant to find.